for this webinar focused on telling your story as part of the Global Youth Service Day webinar series. Just a refresher, my name is Sarah Berry. I'm YSA's Grants Manager. And as usual, we are having the Twitter chat alongside it, but if you have questions afterwards or leading up to Global Youth Service Day or even after, feel free to just tweet at us using the hashtag GYSD. So feel free to use that anytime you need. And tonight we'll be hearing from three experts. We'll be hearing from a youth, a nonprofit professional, and an international nonprofit organization founder. All three of them will talk about their experiences sharing their own personal stories and their own personal stories of service, which is something that we really want you to get out of this webinar. When you walk away, we hope that you'll gain some tips for sharing your own story as well as your story of service with other people around the world. During the webinar, as you can see on the screen, we will hear from Aldo Arce, founder of Puerta Joven, Christian Bujaudi, creator of Are You Aware, and Michael Corsi, YSA's Senior Manager of Communications and Development. I know that all three of these presenters have really valuable information to share with you, so please be sure to listen in, ask questions. Feel free to ask questions, like I said, using the hashtag GYSD, or on the GoToWebinar panel, there is a questions section, so feel free to ask them there. And yeah, we're just excited to get started, so thanks for joining us. First, we're going to start with Aldo Arce, who is the founder and executive director of Puerta Joven, which is a youth-led nonprofit organization that works to promote intercultural education to ensure that young people are not excluded from opportunities because of their cultural identity. He holds a degree in communications and was a postgraduate student in studies of youth at Flaxo University in Buenos Aires, Argentina. He has established youth programs for cultural expression and digital literacy with an innovative approach that recognizes what it means to be young today. His social innovations are running in 5 countries in Latin America today. He has gained experience working for environmental nonprofits in New York City and has been awarded by UN Secretary General Mr. Ban Ki-moon, Prince of Spain, Adobe Foundation, and the University of Queensland, Australia. He is a member of the UNDP's Group of Experts of Youth Development, where he develops work as a consultant in strategies to engage youth in social projects. Currently, he's expanding his youth programs to Central and South America, which is awesome. So, Aldo, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, and you should be all set to go.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. It's great to be here sharing with young people today. So I would like to tell you my story before. When I was starting to sort of thinking of what I want to do, so back at that time I was only 18, and then I wanted, of course, to do something to change the world, as many of you are doing right now. But then I faced with this first point that to be a leader, to do something to change, first you have to be a leader. And then for that, it takes time to imagine, but also it takes time to make to others believe that you can do it. So my first point was like, okay, I want to do this. I want to start something. I don't know exactly what I wanted, but I want to start something. And then at that point, I talked to myself that, you know, what I want to do, it's to create more intercultural dialogue at the schools. This means only to respect diversity at the classroom. That's all. But then in order to do that, you have to convince many people. I think when you are doing an entrepreneurship, whether it's social enterprise, our work is to convince people that they can work with you in order to do that. So I think the first point I challenge myself and say, well, I have to go out to talk to these people, to talk to the principals of the schools, to convince them that my idea can really make a difference. It's not enough with my good intentions, and that it takes a lot of energy to empower yourself and really go out there. So my first point was to represent the story. I was like, I want to share with you that I can do it. So I put on myself in that point that how media reflect young people and how actually other people, whether they are authorities at the government, at the school, or in general in society, how they understand young people, how they look at us. And then I realized like media has a really huge impact because they don't look at us like really powerful and active to do something. They don't look at us as trustful people. And then on top of that, you see that a lot of young people is not represented because ethnicity, because nationality, where they were born, things like that. So it's totally true that if you are overrepresented, you will see yourself more empowered to do things. But if you are underrepresented, you see yourself as having opposite. And I think every young entrepreneur faces this challenge. So the first of all is to really take off that clique and feel yourself as a leader, just because you can in that way empower yourself. And how you start with this? So actually you can start looking at other media than other young people is doing, and that's why I wanted to do my project that is focused on how the young people, the youngest students, can tell their story at the classroom and how that can change the image they have by their peers, by the professors, how they can change their image that they have as the teachers. And from there it starts empowerment to do something about making a change at local level. And then it's totally true that great stories, great projects happen only to those who can tell them. You can have the greatest story behind you, you can have the greatest idea, but I would say that 50% of every project, of every initiative, it's communication. So if your project could be great, you can spend a whole year talking about the qualities of the project, but if you don't tell the story and connect what's the soul behind this, what moves the project to have a sense in the life, it's not going to be a project. It's just going to be some draft on the paper, but never is going to be a reality. So this is what we are looking right now. It's a kind of summary to tell you why there's a need to be really communicative about the project, why we really have to spend so much time. I know that many of you think that why do I have to spend so much time and energy sharing my story when I want to do a project on the ground, when I want to work outreaching people, when I want to impact on beneficiaries? Why to develop all of this communication and speech and all of this behind? So I would say what we are looking at is if we want to change, we need to be persuasive, but to do that, we want to gain confidence on them. And to gain confidence from people, you have to be credible. And to be credible, you have to be visible. And that only is achieved when you share your motivation. Rather than the actions you're going to take, you're going to start to get more credibility when you share your motivation and your passion. You can tell many actions that you are going to implement, but people are not going to connect if you don't make them believe that you are doing something honest, that you are doing something that it's really inspiring you, because that's why you are imagined, not because it's a project extra. There's many projects, but there's only a few passions out there that the people can appreciate. So I would say that that's why it's so important and so relevant to tell your story, your personal story, not only the project and the description of that, but why you are driven to do that. And I think that's gonna give you more broad kind of actors to work with. But then how to tell the story? I think it's pretty simple. My experience, I learned these three actions. The first one would be introducing people. It's all about tell who you are and where you come from. I think when you say where you come from and then where you want to go to, that really motivates people to believe in you, and it actually saves time knocking doors because people are going to connect quicker with you. So it's introducing your personal story, whether you are a group or individual. Second, sharing fact and feelings. When I say sharing facts, it's so important to really communicate points like, you know, this percentage of people has been impact with the issue I want to address. This is the beneficiaries we want to address. Why? And feelings, it's all about, giving a voice to open to be open to come to discuss with people why are you feeling doing this, not only what other people is gonna get from this, but what you are personally feeling doing this. And I could say that any story could be complete if you are only communicating. It's also about getting a feedback. So I could say at the end, close every story with a call for action. Tell something to people that they can help you, they can cooperate you, they can be engaged with you. You can tell the story very extensive, but if you don't invite them to be part of your project, saying openly at your story, whether you are doing on video or writing the story or other materials, at the end you mention very clearly, this is me, this is what I'm feeling to do this is what we are doing, and finally, I need your help. There's nothing bad at mentioning very open, I need your help. I think my organization, it's called Puerta Joven, are two Spanish words. And those words mean, it means youth door. It means opening doors for youth. So when you open a door for youth, how we do it? We do it through stories. This is the name of our organization. We want to open doors for youth. How we can start? And then we realized that sharing stories was actually a good strategy to save time knocking doors. When we started to spread out our stories, it was through video. Then a lot of people came in to ask, what can I do to help you? We didn't even ask for that. We didn't send emails. We didn't ask for meetings with those institutions. They just connect with the story. And then that's when we realized, it's really worth it to spend so much time on this because it's opening doors for us. So that's how we do it right now. We have been creating around 100 stories produced by youth on the ground, each one with a particular issue, whether environment, cultural diversity, youth empowerment. I will invite you to look at those stories. We have the majority is in Spanish, but also we have a few English stories that you can see. And then you can also follow up the story. We have the first video, and then the second one tells you what happened after that video went out there, what happened at the community level. I think that could be a good practice for you in terms to understand how we do it and the success or the challenges we had at Puerto Joven. So I would like to conclude saying this, and I think, again, and describing where you come from and letting know the people where you are going to, I would say definitely opens doors for everyone.
Great. Thank you, Aldo. It's so great to hear from someone who not only has a ton of experience sharing your own stories, but also empowering other youth to share their stories as well. So we really appreciate it, and it's awesome to hear from someone not in the U.S. So thank you so much. We are going to go ahead now and switch over to Christian. So I'll tell you a little bit about him before we get started. Christian is the creator of Are You Aware, which is a campaign to promote awareness for human trafficking, its violation of human rights and its victims, and to gain donations to support organizations fighting for the same cause. He is leading a social media campaign to advocate for national and state policies and legislation directed towards abolishing human trafficking. He worked to pass a proclamation to declare January 11th as Human Trafficking Awareness Day, and it was successful in over 10 counties across New Jersey. Christian is currently serving as the National Child Awareness Month Youth Ambassador for New Jersey, and I've actually had the pleasure of watching Christian go from creating this idea to making it a statewide campaign. So it's been really awesome to see Christian not only share his story, but share the stories of so many others as well. So Christian, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, and you're good to go.
Hey guys, thank you for such a great introduction, Sarah. The first thing that really is indicative of how to tell your story is passion for me. And passion is something that really runs deep in my human trafficking awareness experience. So it all really started like sophomore year for me when I remember I watched the movie Hotel Rwanda, and that's where like it kind of sparked my interest in human rights and just like how people are treated and how like in countries like that are around the world internationally and even locally. So that was really kind of like my opening to human rights. And I had a teacher at my school who taught the Holocaust and Modern Humanities class. And so I really wanted to get into that class junior year, but I wanted to do something now. I wanted to like do something tangible that I can like be proud of and like know that I'm making a difference. So she opened me up to the SOAP project, which is the picture that you see right there. Really the objective of the SOAP project is that many of like the human trafficking victims are trapped in hotels, and so they're trapped in hotel bathrooms. So that's really the basis of the SOAP, is that we put the National Human Trafficking Hotline on the SOAP, which then we put into the bathroom. And so whenever they have a chance, the boys or girls that are being trafficked, they take that, call that hotline, and that's really sometimes their only way to get saved. So so that was kind of like my opening, and like it was actually around the Super Bowl near MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. So, and that's, believe it or not, that's the peak time for human trafficking around like large sporting events like the Super Bowl, World Cup, and whatnot. So next thing with passion is just getting excited. And after the SOAP project and being like able to take that class, that just made me more eager and curious to see how I could even make more of a difference, which is where Are You Aware kind of plays into. So now some background information about human trafficking. It's not only, a lot of people think it's girls, but a lot of times it's boys as well, and that's one thing that people really don't know about. And it's the main problem that I have found over the past couple months doing this project is that not many people really know what human trafficking is and the difference between that and prostitution. So the difference is that prostitution, there's a profit for the worker, but in human trafficking, all the profits go directly to a pimp or like a businessman that's pretty much making the girls do this. So, and a statistic, every minute two children nationwide, worldwide are being trafficked. So that's just think about it. Every minute that goes by during a day, two children are being trafficked, which really blew my mind when I heard that. And another thing is that it's really happens. It's not all like international, like you see like the movies like Taken and whatnot, but it happens really in our backyard. Like it happens locally in our towns, and it can happen really just from like a relationship that's made with a guy in like a high school, like all around the United States. So that's one thing that it's really important to raise awareness about. Okay, the importance of it, like I said before, start the conversation. One thing that a lot of people, after I've been doing like these things with the SOAP project, is many people come up to me and be like, "Oh, how did you think of that?" And I really like bounce my ideas off other people, and like going to a bunch of different conferences to like learn more about it. And the more you know, the more that you're able to spread the awareness. So, and like a phrase that like I even know from my coaches and my teachers is like knowledge is power. Like the more you know about something, the more confident you are, the more you can spread the message. So, and that's kind of where my my campaign motto is. It's make people aware. So like, are you aware? Exactly. So it's like kind of short and to the point. And social media is really the platform that I use to really spread the message and spread the word, because that's where everyone is. I mean, that's where all people spend their time, on Twitter, on Facebook. So I made, I think it's there, it's Are You Aware 14. So that's kind of where like I used to spread my message and really get involved with other people and have conversations about it. And lastly, getting involved in local government, because in the end, they have all the power. So here, this is a proclamation, and that's really kind of my way of integrating this awareness project into the government. So the proclamations, it designates January 11th as Human Trafficking Awareness Day and designates the whole month of January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So, and it's pretty much the content of the proclamation states like all the statistics and like what the pledge of the township does. So right now I have north of 10 towns in my Monmouth County. So and it's growing, so that's really encouraging, and like it's awesome to see like how like excited these people are and how supportive they are of me and my message. So okay, getting others engaged. First off, talking to your peers goes along with starting the conversation. Like this picture is in my school. These are like fellow classmates that are labeling the soap. And this soap was actually sent this year. This was one of my community service projects. It was sent to Arizona, the site of this year's Super Bowl. So this was also an extension of that soap project I mentioned earlier. And another thing, making others curious and like have a keen interest in your efforts. So like a lot of times my classmates will come up to me and say like, hey man, how can I get involved? And I say there's a lot of things you can get involved by like helping me like label the soap. We're doing a spare change jars fundraiser that I'll talk about that later in my presentation, but just getting like a really task force together to help you to just get it going. And I mean, that's kind of like your friends that you know that you can trust and that you know that'll really help you out. So, and bouncing off the passion idea, that's really what allows other people to get excited, because it's kind of something that you can feed off of. Like a lot of people, if someone's really anxious and like excited about something, they'll join right in and pick up where you left off. So, okay, action steps. So the first thing, you have to come up with a plan or like a blueprint for something. So this picture is we wanted to get a keynote speaker, like a human trafficking victim, to actually speak at one of our events, but the problem was the cost of it. So I knew that I had to come up with some kind of fundraiser to fund our speaker, and that fundraiser was the clothing drive that we did. And we actually raised, by the end of it, we raised 1,600 pounds of clothing, which kind of rounded off to like, it really rounded off to around like $330, which almost pretty much covered half the cost of the speaker. And then through other donations, we were able to fund the speaker, which is really awesome. I've heard her story before, and I'll go into it later. Secondly, have tangible and attainable goals. I mean, this is something that this topic is very broad, and it's hard to like do something about this because it's such a dangerous and treacherous like playing field with this. So one thing that I wanted to do was pretty much the basis, just spread awareness, like make people more known to this, and if one life is saved, then I know that I did my job. So thirdly, know how to execute. So come up with like a little game plan of how you're going to do it. And that's like the way I did that is I came up with flyers. I had people pass them out around town. I had pass them out in my school, hang them up around the town. And pretty much you kind of have to be flexible. Like a lot of times people would sometimes drop it off at the house, or a lot of times I've had to like go to the other people's house to pick up the clothes. And it's all about flexibility and just having a common goal with the people that want to help out. So, and that kind of plays into needing to adjust and overcome obstacles. Like sometimes people will be like, they won't really want to like help you, and sometimes you just got to like go with the people that will help you and just kind of say, okay, not everyone's going to be supportive of my plan, but you need to stick through it and stay tough, and people will start to see where you're going with your ideals. So spreading the word. Like I said before, at my Global Youth Service Day event, I'm going to have the keynote speaker. Her name's Jen Spry, and her story is very heart-wrenching. And she was trafficked for 2 years when she was younger, around the age of 6 to 8. So, and it's one that when I heard it, I was speechless afterwards. So, getting and like hearing speakers that have actually been through it really gains credibility. That's one thing that Aldo touched on, is that if people know that they went through it, they will A, believe it, and B, they will really rally behind them and really help your cause in a sense. So In addition to that, introducing people well, giving them a good bio is very important, and bouncing ideas off of their experiences, like making a tangible goal and actually doing something about their story and making sure that that doesn't happen again. And like I said, using the fundraisers like the clothing drive to pay for good speakers that really care about you and your project and your goal. So finally, this is my Global Youth Service Day flyer, pretty much. So we're going to have two nonprofit organizations that are really havens, like restoration homes that help homeless people, trafficked victims. And so one of the fundraisers that we're going to do at the event is we're going to label the bars of soap that can be used at the Covenant House. And also people, the admission's free, but they have to bring a hygiene pack with either socks or gloves or something that keeps them warm in the winter. So that was the one thing that Covenant House requested. Love True, what I mentioned before about the spare change containers, we plan on giving them out to the people that come to the event, and over a 3-month period, just put any spare change that they have into the container, and then after 3 months, we'll collect all the containers, and all the proceeds will go to Love True and their restoration home. And then the third speaker is actually a director from a movie named Wife Missing, and she's showing her trailer, so that'll be pretty exciting. And she also asked me if I could put my logo, which is in the center, in the actual, at the end of the movie, which I thought was pretty cool. So, and then finally our keynote speaker, Jen Spry. So it should be a pretty good night. I'm excited for it, and it's actually getting pretty close, so I'm really eager to get going on it.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks so much. It's been really awesome to watch you over the past year grow your campaign, like I said, from an idea into a long-term project where you're able to share your passion for it as well as stories of other people. So really appreciate you being here. Thanks so much. And now last, but certainly not least, we will hear from Michael Corsi. He is YSA's Senior Manager of Communications and Development, and he is also a lifelong storyteller. Michael grew up in extreme poverty in southern Kentucky, and service and telling his story are two of the factors he contributes for helping him become the first in his family to go to and graduate from college and travel the world to learn other people's stories. He holds a degree in performing arts and communications, has worked in marketing and branding for some of the world's biggest brands like Ben & Jerry's and Starbucks, and now he works with YSA telling stories of young people serving around the world. So I'm going to pass it over to him.
Thank you, Sarah. So first we want to talk about what a story is. And a story is much more than a set of facts. A story is a theme, a plot, characters, and settings. And every person has a story, and every cause needs a storyteller. This is from a great Huffington Post article by James Whitaker. I highly encourage you to check it out after the webinar. First, I want to talk about framing your story. Storytelling for social change is about inspiring emotion and creating action. Many great stories start with once upon a time. This is a good place to start. As a storyteller, you have to take the listener on a journey. They have to learn something and they have to go somewhere. You care about volunteering. You care about your cause and your project, but why? So what's at stake? The best stories put it out on the line, and they let people know that there are stakes. What happens if you're not there? What happens if your project doesn't exist? What happens if you didn't have the passion? You got to give the audience and the listener a reason to root for the character. And don't be afraid to really stack the odds against the story. Youth around the world are tackling some of the world's biggest issues. So there is a lot at stake. And each of us have a story that we need to tell about those stakes. So don't be afraid to let the world know. And numbers alone, they mean very little without hearing about the journey. This is from Disney Pixar's 22 Rules of Storytelling. And their #1 rule of storytelling is you admire a character more for trying than for their successes. So why do you care about the person? Why do you care about the journey? That's the essence of storytelling, is taking listeners on a journey of why a person is on this journey. So with the service project, why are we acting? Why are you personally motivated to serve for that project? And why should they care? What's the journey? What are you learning, and where are you going? Each of us is writing a story every day with our words and with our actions. And our stories are unique. They're the one thing that set us apart from the rest of the world. So what you do, where you serve, where you volunteer, how you feel about that, and what you learn are important. They need to tell those stories. So the next step in storytelling journey with YSA is Global Youth Service Day on April 17th through the 19th. You're still plenty of time to register and find projects at www.gysd.org/mapitout. And to a bigger point, we need you to share your story. Share our mutual story. You can find us at Youth Service on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Share your story using the hashtag GYSD. And I love this quote. So tell us a story. Tell us a good story. And let that good story be one part of a symphony of stories that make this world a better place. So we want to hear from you. Good projects and our volunteerism shouldn't happen in a vacuum. We need to make sure, as Aldo said earlier, that the best storytellers are the ones that can tell the best stories, and that the most impact happens and the recognition comes from those that are brave enough to tell the story and to lay it all on the line and let the world know what's at stake. Directly related to social change and impact, YSA has many resources that are available at ysa.org and gysd.org to help you take what you're learning in school, what you're learning in your service projects, and the stories that you're acquiring every day, and it helps you map out a plan of action so that you can use those stories, you can use your sparks, your passions, and your motivations to make an impact like Christian did. Whether it be a movie, a teacher, a mentor, a spark can be lit at any time, and a story can start at any time. So we want you to go out tonight, want you to go out tomorrow, and begin to tell those stories and to continue to develop your stories. YSA wants to help lend a microphone and a platform to young people all around the world so that stories can be heard and that they can inspire other young people to action. So we want to thank you tonight for joining us for the webinar. I encourage you to please go out, tag us in your stories, hashtag GYSD, at Youth Service. Just tell your stories. Make sure that what we're doing and what you're doing every day is taking the world on a journey and that you're learning something. So again, thank you tonight for joining us, and we'll see you next time.